before going into this, were you a video game fan at all? Was there anything you played that you enjoyed?
I played as a kid. I wasn't great at them, so I couldn't necessarily be super gung-ho, but we had an Atari 2600, and I played the Pac-Man and the Frogger and Burger Time, but it was me and my brother and sister, so it got to a point where we just had to take that and had to live at Grandma's house. Kill each other. But then also we got to go to the arcades for report card day.
Right.
And you'd get 3 tokens for an A and 2 for a B and stuff. So it was an incentive for education. But that was the extent of it. I'm not even that familiar with the more current games,
right.
The 3D scary ones where you can
but that seems
drive
okay.
over people.
That seems okay since this is kind of set old school.
Yes, I mean for my character in particular, I was more than happy to be like, oh yeah, I'll do a 1982 video game. That was my heyday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of voice work in the past and with this, of course. Do you find you prepare differently for a voice role as opposed to a live action role?
Yes. I thought you were about to say for different voice roles. I was like, oh boy. This is all you get, kid. There's a little bit more. For me, the main thing, I guess with both of them, is familiarity with the script. And so for the voiceover stuff, piece of cake, you read the script. And for the live action, you have to be prepared to, if your acting partner has a different interpretation of something, you need to be prepared, be flexible for that. But with all of them, know what the director is looking for, know what the tone is. But I think just having the confidence of knowing what I will be bringing to the table is going to help everybody too, especially me.
You've here on 30 Rock, you kind of made a little bit of a career out of playing the really nice sort of perfectionist kind of guy. And when you get a script like something like this, now that you know those kinds of characters really well and that you've gotten to do that a lot, how much input do you have into what you're actually going to say, either on the show or in the film, or if something doesn't feel right to you now that you've done this for a while?
I have to say those instances are pretty few and far between, and I think that's a credit to the writing, both for the movies, for 30 Rock, for any little thing I do. If that's the character that they're looking for, most people are pretty good about just hitting the nail on the head with that. But when something comes up, for example, every now and then on 30 Rock, they would have me going, oh, Tracy, here's a piece of mail for you. And I'm like, well, why not just say Mr. Jordan? And, little things like that. But for the most part, it's all about the writing. And, very seldom do I have to pipe up and be like, I don't think my character would do that.
Well, by that same token, does it make you a little bit more choosy when something like that comes along?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because, for example, I hope I'm not talking about this off. But sometimes, people have to write promos that we have to do for 30 Rock or whatever it is. And sometimes they're trying to capture the voice, and they just don't hit the mark. And then you have to know how to gracefully, draw the line. And I see where they're coming from, but you have to let people know that this is, actually it's Tina Fey's intellectual property, Kenneth is, and this is Disney's intellectual property. So there have to be some boundaries set with that. You can't just write down any slop for Jack McBrayer.
Fair enough. And since you have that kind of persona thing, do you have any interest in playing a really darker or strange character, just as a way of?
People ask me that. It's not that I'm opposed to it, and I would certainly try to rise to the challenge. I'm just worried I wouldn't be good at it. But also, I like playing the good guy. Other people have been saying, you hear people say, I'd love to be a villain. That's the interesting thing for me. I'm like, that's not interesting. That would cause me anxiety. Give me an ulcer. I'm pretty all right, just smiling real big and waving.
The whole cast is quite a cool collection of people. Did you get a lot of chance to perform next to them for any of these scenes, or?
I wish I could have done more. For the most part, it's me and a microphone.
Of course.
But for a couple of sessions, there was one session I got to work with John, And there was one session I got to work with Jane, and those were kind of my favorites because my background is in improvisation, as is Jane's, and I mean, John is just so talented anyways. It was fun to play. Also, I mean, if you think about it, me, John, and Jane were all in Talladega Nights way back in the day, and so we're friends from way back, and I mean, even Sarah, too. And it was fun just to goof off at them and match their energy and go off the script. Because even though, we'd get it exactly as the directors wanted it the first time, they gave us a lot of freedom just to goof around. And a lot of it made it into the movie. I was excited about that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You've done TV, film, and theater. Do you have a preference over one medium? And do you, do you want to do more of one?
Oh, that's a great question. It's funny because now that 30 Rock is coming to an end, that's been 7 years on a TV show. I've loved it to death. I would be okay doing more TV. I would be okay doing more film, but I kind of got a little hankering to maybe do some live theater, some live performance. Once again, plays in high school, Second City, that's all live, immediate performance. And there's something about that where you get that response, where you get that immediate gratification. And that hits my sweet spot. So now that I know my days are numbered in New York, I've actually been making a very conscious effort to go to plays and go see live stuff and see if there's something I might want to pursue later on in the line. There's a fundraiser coming up in 2 weeks called the 24-Hour Plays, where in 24 hours they have 6 writers, 6 directors, and 24 actors, and they all just come together. The writers go off and write a 10-minute play. The directors come and pick their script and the cast, and then you have all day to rehearse it and perform it at night. And it's a rush. It is a rush. Sometimes overwhelming, but it's a rush. It's a rush.
I'm assuming most adults really recognize you mostly from television, but now that you've done a little bit of voice work, I'm sure a lot of a younger audience has been sort of picking up on you. Have any children actually noticed that you've been the voice of something that they've been in at all?
I don't know if that immediate connection has happened, but because I have done so many children's things, even shows like Yo Gabba Gabba and Electric Company and things where you can see my face, but then the voiceover stuff like Phineas and Ferb and The Simpsons and stuff that kids would watch, Despicable Me, Wreck-It Ralph. There might come a day where a kid recognizes my voice, and I feel bad for them.
Because they're going to look at you and realize, he's not wearing giant old overalls and carrying a hammer.
Isn't that he's very disappointing in person.
And is it strange to see your voice coming out of an animated creation sometimes?
In some ways, it's easier than watching an episode of 30 Rock. Because, everybody gets that thing when they hear their own voice on their voicemail and stuff. They're like, oh, God. So that's still something that it don't get easier.
Yeah, there's not really so much that you can really second guess when you see an animated version of yourself.
I can always blame it on my animator. Dummies don't know what they're doing.
I was curious to ask you what your relationship is like with the actual NBC pages. Are they you king of the mountain, or are they man, he doesn't get it? He doesn't know what it's like.
I was worried in the beginning.
Yeah.
I was worried that they thought, he is mocking us. We have chosen to do. But since then, it's been quite the opposite. I do love going there because half the time when I'm in the actual Rockefeller Center, we really don't even do the show there. We have a studio in Queens. So when I'm there, I'm just wearing my t-shirt and jeans and stuff, and so nobody pays me a mind at all. But the pages recognize me, and they don't make a big deal about it because they're very professional, but they'll do one of those head checks where they're
no one's giving you notes on your performance yet.
Well, I was really worried because also I haven't even taken a tour of NBC, so it's fake it till you make it. Read those scripts that they give me.
I'm wondering if you have a pet project or a character that you would have dreamed about doing that you'd still like to do, or
that's funny that you ask. Somebody else asked me, and the one that I came up with, y'all are too young to even know, Don Knotts.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He did so many fun things. I mean, I don't want to necessarily I'm going to do a remake, but I'm so inspired by him, The Ghost of Mr. Chicken and Mr. Limpet, and he did so many fun things. He is a person who. I don't want to say he was stereotyped or typecast or anything, but he was very consistent with his performance for decades. That dude worked. As did, the Andy Griffiths, the Bob Newharts, the, Tim Conways, the B. Arthurs. Like, they do their thing. They did it very well, and they did it for a long time. And that is respectable.
Would you want to do like an autobiography, like a biography film of him, or would you want to actually take on one of his roles that he did?
Well, the tricky thing, I guess, about doing anything biographical is I have the utmost respect, and I would be mortified if it came across as anything else. With that being said, an homage, perhaps, by doing something along the veins of, do y'all remember The Ghost of Mr. Chicken?
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure.
That holds up, y'all. Yeah. I just saw it not too long ago. That holds up. He was funny. He's one of those people who, I call it liquid funny. Catherine O'Hara was just on 30 Rock too. Liquid funny. Every single
all
Frankenweenie. Yeah. She is a dream. And there are some people in this world, and you just know it. You just know it when you meet them. And I like that, and I'm drawn to that. And I would love to either work with those people or in some connection with them that are inspired by.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Has there been any talk of a sequel to this, and would you be interested if there was?
Yes, I would be very interested, and if there has been talk, they haven't mentioned it to me, so I hope I don't get killed off. Like, are you kidding? I mean, plus, like, it just thinks you just think that, like, actors. But guess what? We want to work, and we are always happy to say yes to projects. When it happens to be an incredibly fun project, even better. But so much of the time, we are just eager to work and want to find the right thing to play with. And so when the perfect storm comes of great cast, great writing, it looks fantastic, I know how good I got it. I'm not delusional. I am not fooling myself. Like, I know how good I got it, and I'm very okay with that.
One of the things that I think this movie gets really well, even though it's creating new characters, is that it shows the sort of love that people will have for these sort of classic characters that have been around for ages and ages. When you were growing up, like, not even necessarily in terms of video games, but what sort of fictional characters were the things that you really looked up to while you were growing up?
Well, I mean, besides, the very early video games, like Saturday morning cartoons remind me of being a kid. And, the commercials and the products that they sold back then, all of these things bring about this sense of nostalgia. And I think now and then everybody just deserves a night with, a glass of Chardonnay and a trip down memory lane.
So you just sit at home watching old commercials on YouTube with a bottle
of old Alf reruns. But I think, like, this movie is pretty great with, like, hitting the nostalgia as well as the more current and more new stuff that the kids will enjoy, while the Disney tradition of a fantastic story and incredible visuals and, like, they know what they're doing, right? They're doing okay.
I was interested to see John Lasseter's name involved, and I was curious if you got to work with him at all, or how involved he was.
Sort of. Now, it's, and maybe you can help me out, they executive produced it. I mean, did Pixar executive produce it, or just like John Lasseter, or... Bree, come on. I was a question about John Lasseter. I know. Like, is the word Pixar involved with this movie at all?
Yeah.
Okay, but John Lasseter...
John Lasseter as overseeing Disney animated.
Gotcha. I mean, I'm asking because I didn't know. But, so yes, we got to go up to the Pixar campus for the table read. And this was, 2.5 years ago. It takes forever to get these things done. So got to meet him there. And from there, at a couple of the screenings, and we have to go to these... events. There was one called D23, which is where all the Disney shows, movies, everything Disney. It's a big, smile, wave, sign, kind of thing. I don't even know what that would be. Expo?
It's an expo.
Yeah,
a Disney con kind of thing. And so just in those few, it just felt good to kind of get his stamp of approval.
Yeah.
Like, that dude knows what he's doing. A genuine talent, and just each one is different. Each one, it's a very impressive track record he's got.
In terms of you being home, if you were working on something, are you more of a Ralph or are you more of a Felix?
So gross. I'm probably a Felix just because I do like order. I like my things all in a row. I'm not that great at fixing things as much as I am maintaining them once they're nice. So I'm very good about just keeping things in good order. But if something got broke, I'm real good at calling in an electrician.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
Being kind of typecast as the nice guy all the time, did you relate to Felix a little bit?
I thought you said you were.
No, you
I thought you said I'm always
He will
being
never be
typecast.
I will
Like in this world? Say it again. Am I being typecast?
Do you feel like because you're kind of portrayed as this really nice guy all the time, like you seem like a really nice guy. Did you feel that you related to Felix? It's going down in history. Awesome.
Wait, what's the question? Wait, do I think I have to live up to being a nice guy?
No, because Felix, at one point in the movie, he gets fed up with the fact that he's always fixing things, and do you ever get fed up with always having to be the nice guy?
Well, I mean, Jack McBrayer. I'm a human being. I get cranky. I get tired. It's one of those things. You try to be flexible, especially in your place of business where there are lots of big personalities. And you're a human being. You're gonna have better days than others. With that being said, creatively, I'm always happy to do an R-rated comedy. I'm happy to do a Judd Apatow project, Will Ferrell, Adam McKay. Always, I'm happy to say yes to that. I do love the fact that you can still find kindness in humor. But I'm also okay with, we can all laugh at the fact that horrible stuff can be funny as well. And finding that balance and, knowing when to say no to stuff too. That's important.
You said you got to work a little bit off the script, and some of that made it into the movie.
Yeah.
What was the one thing that you were kind of the happiest to see that made it into the movie that you didn't think would be in there?
Well, and please understand, the script has evolved from the minute we read it till I saw it. I didn't even know a lot of the storylines. I'll be quite honest.
It's a lot. It's like any script, really.
True, and also when they bring me in, it's just for my parts, so I don't know what's going on with the Vanellope storylines, and you just don't know. In terms of going off script, there was this one run where Sergeant Calhoun and Felix get caught in some quicksand, and we just got to play around for a couple of hours of just various exclamations. There are actually some outtakes there.
That actually ties into something else I was going to ask you. I mean, you seem to have mastered this almost sort of nonsense exclamation between this and 30 Rock. Do you have any real favorite exclamation for excitement or anger or bewilderment at all?
Who, Jack McBrayer?
Yeah, just in general that you've had to say that has somehow.
Oh, so in a role or as in real life?
Either, both actually.
Well, one thing I did learn on the set of 30 Rock is sometimes you mess up, and instead of swearing, I found it better to be, kind of turn into your grandmother a little bit, where sugar, or nerds. Because what you find out sometimes too late is that stuff will end up on the outtake reel, on the gag reel, which finds its way online. And so, I didn't want my nephew Googling my name and finding just a tirade of me. So you do learn to temper yourself. With that being said, sometimes have you ever seen that show Archer?
Yeah.
They have some of the craziest exclamations in the world. I found myself copping some of those. And sometimes it's almost like a Mad Libs of take a swear word and put it with a noun and just it's fun.
This is gonna be the last question.
Okay, cool. I guess
It's gotten filthy.
I know you obviously can't really get into great detail, but I was just curious, do you even know how your character and how 30 Rock is going to end yet? Has that even been discussed yet? Or you
no idea. I'm sure it's been discussed in the writers' room.
Yeah.
But I honestly don't know. It's a 13-episode season, and we're shooting episode 8 right now.
Okay.
And I can't even... It all blurs together, and I'm not trying to get out of the question.
Yeah.
But you just forget what's happening. We shoot out of order. I'm saying nonsense. I'm not positive I'm a human being. I'm not positive I'm alive. But I don't know. The cool thing is we do know that it's ending. So the writers are able to resolve and complete these stories. I think that's very important. So many TV shows don't get to do that. You know, they get yanked. Animal Practice got yanked off the air. No comments. But we've had a show go for 7 years, and we have the luxury of completing the storylines. I'm very happy about that. But your guess is as good as mine.
You're totally
could
taking
be
over the
a
network.
fire, or like destroying everyone in a fiery way.
Both of those sound like satisfying endings to the series.
Wait, Andrew, Phil?
Yes.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Way to go.
That's a first. You over there.
Baseball cap.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Pleasure. Nice to meet you. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
That's off the record.
Great to meet you, Joe.
Of course, y'all take care.
Yep, take care.